Hi everyone, welcome to Mama Wears Athleisure. I am your host, Mariela de Santiago, a first-time mom. We focus on all things mom with tips to help make life easier and more organized for all you mamas out there.
Like the second the recording starts, she's like full on angry pug mode.
Jess has two pugs, and sometimes it sounds like they're snorting. You can hear them snorting.
Yeah, I know. There was like one time, and I didn't acknowledge because sometimes it's like I don't know what background noise you hear, and then like what background noise you don't, and so like I just try to like ignore it. But there was one time that literally I feel like it sounded like I was just like over here ripping ass or something because like. All you hear is just like in the background as I'm talking casually, like it's no big deal. And I didn't once acknowledge what the noise was. And it was because she was like snoring like right next to me. So any weird noises, it's not me. I would acknowledge it or cut it out. It's a pug.
No judgment if it is. I have two boxers, so I understand the snorting.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
the
boxers.
Flat noses. You guys have the flat noses.
The heavy breathing.
We have two of our friends have boxers, so they're definitely big in our friend group for sure. Yeah. I really like any dog with like that like scrunched up nose. Like it's just like, oh, I just love you so much.
The squishy face, and you can squeeze their cheeks.
Just pull their face. So funny. It's funny. Hayden went up to Gemma, one of our pugs, the other day, and I don't know. He must have seen me do this to her, but he literally had like both her lips, and he was just like. Stretched them out, and he was just like looking at her, like both her cheeks, like up straight, and she was just looking at me like, "Mom, is this okay?"
Oh,
it was funny.
Well, everyone, this episode is going to be a collaboration between us, Sonia Tapley and Jessica Raziri of Geriatric Mamas, and Mariela de Santiago from Mama Wears Athleisure podcast. Today, we're going to talk about being geriatric mamas, hearing the term geriatric pregnancy for the first time, and we're going to weigh in on whether or not this phrase is being phased out for real. So I'm really looking forward to getting into it.
Yes, let's get into it. Well, first of all, thank you so much for joining us. And
so
like, can we just acknowledge how cute we all look with our little pink mics right now?
I love that all of us have the same the same aesthetic. I was like, when you reached out to me about our pink microphone, I'm like, you totally need one, like right now.
Yes.
I've gotten so many comments on it already, and I'm like, it just, I don't know, it just makes you feel a lot more girly, and you know, it's
it's so fun.
We're mamas after all.
I know.
Yeah. Now I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my old one, but I don't know. I guess maybe I'll use it for traveling if I need to do an episode if I'm like away or something like that.
Yeah.
Do you think
we can list it on Facebook?
Yeah. That's
true.
Extra
dollars, buy some wine.
That's true. You can do that. That's a great idea.
I love that for you. So we thought we would kind of jump in by talking about the first time we heard the term geriatric in relation to either our fertility journeys or our pregnancies. So I don't know who wants to go first.
I can go first.
Go first.
Well, so for the first time I heard the term was when Meghan Markle became pregnant.
Yeah.
Which
she was like 37 or 38, right? When she met Harry, right? Prince Harry, or when they got married. Yeah.
And so she was right around there, like late 30s when she was pregnant with her first. And I was like, what, geriatric? What? But she's not that old.
What are you talking about?
Right.
Yeah. And then fast forward to me going through my pregnancy, and then I walk into the doctors and they're like, well, yeah, you have to take all these tests because you are geriatric. What does that mean? I'm old?
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Offensive.
It's so offensive. I would never just be like okay with the term geriatric either. When I heard it, it was, well, since this is going to be a geriatric pregnancy, because I was in the IVF office with the IVF doctor. So it was like before it even happened, and it was about the pregnancy. But if someone just outwardly was like, because you're geriatric, I would be so confused. Like,
what
where
does
do you
that
even begin?
mean?
Yeah. I remember the first time that I heard the term, I was actually 32 and I was at my OB's office for just like an annual exam. And she was just like asking me like, oh, any plans of having kids or anything like that. And at the time, like, you know, Adam and I weren't married yet. And he was just taking his sweet ass time with that one. And I was just like, well, you know, eventually, but we're just like not ready. You know, we're, you know, we're still young and everything. And she's just like, yeah, you know, you're right. You know, you're not quite geriatric yet, is what she said. And I was like, what? Rude, first of all.
Quite.
I was like, I'm not quite what? And she's like, yeah, you're not quite geriatric. And there was just like a pause and she just kept going on to other things. And I was like, I'm sorry.
You're still thinking about it.
I'm 30. I don't know if you misunderstood. Like, I'm 32. And she's like, yeah. And then she's like, and then she laughed because she realized I wasn't understanding, obviously. And she's like, oh yeah, any pregnancy over the age of 35 is considered geriatric. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what do you mean? So now at this point, I'm thinking like, oh, I'm young 32. I have all this time. And then all of a sudden to be told that I'm basically geriatric and I only have like 3 years left before I'm like friggin' in a nursing home, I guess. And so like I go home
with a baby.
Right. And so like I remember like going home and I was like just thinking about this all the time, like geriatric, like 3 more years until I'm geriatric. Like what the hell? And then I go home to Adam and I'm just like, okay, so we need to talk. First of all, like I'm gonna need you to put a ring on it quickly because apparently I am almost geriatric. And he's just like, what are you? So of course he thinks I'm being dramatic, you know, which to his defense, usually that is the case. But then I started Googling it and I fell down this rabbit hole of just like, and I'm just like, this is just so incredibly offensive. Like, I don't even know what to do with this information. But then I couldn't like stop laughing about it because I also thought it was like absolutely hilarious.
Right. I feel like she like put the fear
term?
of God into you. And whereas like my OB back when like Mike and I were first trying was just like, oh no, you know, like there's so many factors. I was like, I was the one bringing up my age and I didn't know it was called geriatric or whatever at the time, but I was the one bringing up my age. And she's like, oh no, like causes for infertility, so many different things. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like we've got ages to go, you know, before I have to worry about it. But, you know, I was like 33, 34. So yours was like, you need to get on it. And mine was like, well, you know, like whatever.
It's
so
just
crazy.
so funny. And then of course like I fell down the rabbit hole of like researching all the shit and just like, which is never a good thing, but I don't know, I just always thought it was like absolutely hilarious to refer to somebody in their 30s as geriatric. Like, are you kidding?
I remember going into, you know, your regular checkup and it's like, okay, well, do you plan on having kids anytime soon? I was probably in my early 30s. Well, you know, you just want to start thinking about it before 35 or have kids before 35. And I'm thinking same thing. Oh, I've got so much time. And then all of a sudden 35 is here so fast, much faster than I thought it would be. And, you know, I think I turned, or I was 35 the year I became pregnant. So
like, congratulations, you have a baby and you're a dinosaur.
Right. Yes.
All at the same time.
But yet you hear about all of these other celebrities that like have babies in their late 30s or 40s, like J-Lo. I mean, she was like 39 or 40 and she had twins. And look at her now. She was climbing up pole at 50 at the halftime Super Bowl.
God. Yeah. I love those. Like, it's so funny. I love those, the like videos of, and they'll do it. I'll use JLo as an example since we just talked about it, but it's just like JLo at 50 and she's like doing all this shit. And then it's like me at 40 and I'm like literally like on life support. Like,
we're like the Willy Wonka grandparents laying in bed. We can't get out.
Yes. Oh my God. That is such a good reference. Absolutely.
Yeah. So good. Well, I recently, it was in January, I stumbled upon this parents.com Instagram post that stated, geriatric pregnancy is a thing of the past. The caption reads, real talk, the phrase geriatric pregnancy is total BS. If you're pregnant or hoping to have a baby after 35, you may be familiar with the old term. Thankfully, that's been phased out and the term is now advanced maternal age. So,
but is that any better?
Like, it's not any better, but
it is
also
a little better, obviously, but like,
well, Yeah, but also like I don't really necessarily believe that it's been phased out because we all heard it in the last couple of years, and people who come on the podcast are still saying that it's still being said. So I don't necessarily believe it. I don't know.
Well, you know what, too, though? I just feel like the term geriatric was just so offensive, and it was used for so long that I feel like it's just ingrained in all of our minds, and it's something that we might not ever come back from. So it's
we're surely not. You and I are definitely not coming back from it.
We are branded. It's so funny. I know, like when I came to Sonia with this idea, I was just like, I called her one day and I'm just like, okay, listen. Geriatric mamas. It's fucking hilarious. Let's do this.
Yeah. We decided we were going to lean in. Good. We accepted it.
I don't have I don't have the data, but I would love to know how many moms now would be considered geriatric in, you know, today's day and age, because we are having kids much later, kind of like that article states, like we're not. First of all, I think 35 is still too young.
Over 60% of the U.S. Yeah.
Really? See?
Yeah, in some ways it really is. And I know, like, when I lived in Hawaii for a few years, and a lot of the women that I met out there who, and like people I worked with, kind of felt the same. They felt like they had more wisdom, you know, more to give their children later in life. And I remember one of my bosses had her baby after 35, and she felt like she was too young still. I mean, she's an amazing mom, but she really did feel like she was too young. So, I mean, advanced maternal age, I know, Jess, you kind of touched on it a little bit.
Well, it's like, I know, like, also just kind of like expand on, you know, what you were just saying. Like, we, like, also as a society, we're living a lot longer than we used to as well, right? Like, people are more like aware of preservatives and what they're putting into their bodies, and health conscious, and working out, and, you know, injecting plastic into themselves to make them biodegradable, basically. And so, like, we're literally just like living longer. And so I think, like, that's also, you know, when our parents were in their 20s, they had a different life set ahead of them, right? It's like, okay, you go to school and then you get married and then you have kids, and this is like the projection of what needs to happen next. But now it's like, when our kids in their 20s are like, oh, and then I'm going to be an entrepreneur, and then I'm going to start a business, and then it's going to take this many years, then I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to find somebody, and then maybe we'll have kids, and blah blah blah. So it's like all of that isn't really the focus, and it's because they look at like this like much longer of a life that they have than like what our parents had, really.
Well, and to add to that, life is a lot more expensive now than it was back then. Like, back then, people could afford to live off of a one person income. I don't feel like that's very realistic anymore. No. Especially, it definitely depends on where you live, but the older you are, the more financially stable you are. Therefore, it's a lot easier to be able to provide all of the things that you want to provide for your little ones. So why not wait? I mean, if you want to have kids when you're 20, great, do you. I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to experience life. And I would not have been able to do that with my toddler. I have so much fun with him. But, you know, I would not have been able to just go out day drinking to a beach club in the middle.
I mean, you could, but it would definitely be very much frowned upon, for sure.
And I would be feeling it
at a bar, at Club Med. What? No, definitely not. And I mean, we kind of reached out to a few friends to talk about like what their doctor said. When did they first hear about the term geriatric pregnancy? And, you know, one of the people that got back to us said that at the time that they went, it was actually at her office. It was called Advanced Maternal Age. And she also said, like Jess, you know, doesn't really sound that much better. I don't know anyone else's thoughts on that. No, I'm not sure I like it.
But I feel like it doesn't really make sense to like have this concern. I get that, you know, you have less eggs, the risks increase, but kind of like the article stated, it doesn't really depend very much on your age. It's more about like your health history and your habits. So if I'm 25 eating McDonald's every day, am I better off than somebody that eats organic, cooks at home, gets,
Right.
well,
I
now
would
5 hours of
argue
sleep.
that mentally, you're probably happier eating McDonald's every day.
Yes. Probably have a lot more time too at 25 and energy.
Yeah.
But hey,
Exactly.
I'm
And your
also probably
metabolism
poor.
hasn't-
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
That's why you're eating off the dollar menu of McDonald's.
Exactly.
So
Oh my
good.
God,
No, but
so
that's an
funny.
excellent point. And that's also what we were saying in last week's episode, Sonia, where, your dentist kept referring to you as basically a dinosaur and kept referring to your age and, your recovery time is going to be so much longer. And, it's not apples to apples,
Right.
not every, you could have one 40-year-old that literally, like, if you do testing, like her true internal age is probably closer to 50. And then you have another 40-year-old where her true maternal age is probably closer to like 30. And I think it really just depends on your lifestyle and your genetics and what you're, what you put into your body.
Yeah.
So I think
to
that point, I don't think it's fair to necessarily just because you're hitting a certain age bracket to put that label on it, because, there's women in their 20s that are considered high risk pregnancies that have, fertility issues, and then you have women in their 40s that are fertile as fuck.
Right.
They're popping them out like no problem.
Hi, everyone. It's your host, Mariella. I wanted to thank you for listening and share some ways to show your continued support. You can rate and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Share the show with friends and family. Buy me a coffee to help with the financial cost of running a podcast. Follow me on Instagram at Mama Wears Athleisure. And finally, subscribe to my newsletter. Thank you for listening.
And when I was, it's so true. When I was going through the next article, there were so many women who just had easy breezy pregnancies. They were so healthy. I didn't put them all in here. I only put like 3 stories in here. There were just so many women who just had like the best pregnancies, and they were in their late 30s, early 40s. So, I mean, that's just really, really encouraging. And it does speak to the whole lifestyle thing.
I mean, I had a super easy pregnancy. I don't have anything to compare it to because obviously I went through only one here, and in this situation I have my son, but I didn't have any complaints. I was very healthy. I worked out, and I actually ran up until the day I delivered my son. So
wow, that's amazing.
The only complaint I have actually is that I had heartburn every day, and that's because of his full head of hair. I hope that's why it was.
Yes, I had that towards the end, and Annabelle had a lot of hair. Just you had it, right? You had a little bit of heartburn, didn't you?
You didn't have any heartburn. I was like you. I had a pretty easy. I struggled to get there, but once I was pregnant, I was lucky with a very easy pregnancy. The only really crazy things that I had was towards the end, I got really bad carpal tunnel. Acupuncture was helping for a while, and then it just got to the point where it was just like every morning I would wake up with what I would call like lobster hands, because like it took a minute before I could fully open my hands or make a fist. My husband had to help me put my bra on and stuff in the morning because I was just like, I can't move. And then like swelling in my legs if I was standing for longer, long period, like longer than like 10 minutes, all of a sudden my feet would start like swelling up. So that was mostly like towards the end when I was like ready to pop. But for the most part, I had I slept great. I didn't have any nausea, like, no crazy cravings. Yeah. I was eating everything. So like, but
so it really isn't dependent on your age.
Right.
Here we are. Evidence that just because you're old doesn't mean that you're going to have a rough pregnancy.
No,
right.
Exactly. And I was really good.
And it also like
until the end too. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and it also like puts the fear of God into these women. And it's like it's already a moment where you're like already like stressed out. You want to get to like different mile markers. Let's get to the 10-week mark where it like, okay, this is going to be truly like a viable pregnancy. Now let's get past 23 weeks where it's like the likelihood of this has gone down. And now let's get to this. So there's already so much stress involved with trying to make sure that like, it's going to be like a viable pregnancy and everything's healthy and great. And then to add that layer of like, you're high risk, this and that, and you're geriatric and this could happen and this could happen. It's like,
so here are all the tests possible to make sure that you're okay just because of your age.
Right. And it's like, can we not? Like,
Yeah.
I just feel like there needs to be maybe like a class on like bedside manners
And
to some of these doctors.
Didn't one of our guests have like 17 ultrasounds for her first pregnancy? Yeah, one of our guests had 17 ultrasounds for her first pregnancy because it was a geriatric pregnancy. And then her second pregnancy wasn't like that at all. I'm trying to remember which guest it was. She had two babies. Yeah, but it was because it was geriatric. So, but she had an easy breezy pregnancy. So the next baby, they really didn't like monitor as much. So
didn't care.
yeah.
Now you're really old, but you're fine.
Exactly. Like you're like prehistoric at this point, but we're just not going to monitor anything.
That dino egg that turned into a baby is just fine. Just fine.
We think you can go up. You'll be fine round 2.
Yeah. So the next article is a Buzzfeed article by Fabiana Buontempo. And in the top, she says, women who had kids a little older are sharing the many positives of their experience. And I think this gives hope to a lot of us. In the opening, she shares, I'm a 30-year-old female who would love to have kids one day, but not right now or even in the next year. So I always find it refreshing to hear from women who had children later in life and their experiences. So here's what some of the women in BuzzFeed had to say, and also on Reddit.
I met my husband when I was 34 years old. We had 2 unintended pregnancies very quickly within 6 months of knowing each other. The first was ectopic, so had to be terminated. The second was healthy and resulted in the amazing kiddo we have today. I turned 35 while pregnant and am now in my late 40s. I give all the background because I feel like in my 30s, I was on the cusp of being still silly yet entering maturity. Being in my 30s, I think I had the maturity and stability to be a parent and long-term partner, and it's been great. Not without the ups and downs that most relationships have, but my partner and I are the same age, have about the same level-headedness, and actively work at loving and supporting each other while doing our best to be good parents. I know I would not have been capable of this earlier in life. Ironically, maybe, because I'm an older parent, I hope our daughter has kids earlier in life. The difference is I can be there for her and provide the support I didn't have for my own family.
Yeah. I think that's such a great way of looking at it. It's so good. Because, you know, we've had the longevity conversation on a couple of episodes, and it's, you know, a lot of people who have babies later in life worry about, like, are they going to be there for their grandchildren? But looking at it in a way where not only are you going to be there for your grandchildren, but you're going to be able to help your daughter through all the things. I just think that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think she made some very valid points that I feel like I can relate to, in the sense of just being more mature, being able to really be there and work a lot more on like your relationship with your partner, because you guys are in this different stage in life.
Right. Exactly. Really solid ground. I met my husband at 35, almost 36, and we married when I was 38. I froze my eggs in my early 30s, so we now have 2 children. One was born when I was 40, and the other was born when I was 41. My eldest is about to turn 3. It's been hard having back-to-back pregnancies and 2 toddlers, but they are absolutely the lights of our lives. I'd love to have another, but my OB has advised against it. We've also been able to give them so much because we worked hard in our careers, advanced our education, and saved well. But I wish we could give them more years with me and my husband. That's the only thing I worry about. And I don't want them to feel pressured to have children young so they can know us. I want them to live their lives the way they want. So I feel like this is kind of like the opposite of what the first person said in terms of like having more years. But I think really taking again what the first person said and like applying it is so helpful, because I mean, not everyone's going to feel pressured to have kids when they're young just so that, you know, their parents can meet them. I mean,
I'm laying that pressure on with Hayden.
Are
like,
you?
Come on, teen pregnancy.
love it.
Let's go. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Joking.
Fresh out of high school. Let's go.
Let's go. Come on. No, I'm kidding.
I'm telling my son, no, can't get married before 30. It's a rule. Therefore, no kids before 30.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good rule. Let him like live. Just live. Live your life. Live your life. She'll come to you. Anybody that you
can
meet
live together. Like, you just don't have to be married and have babies.
Exactly.
Like, that
Just wait.
time will come.
She can be younger though, right? Like she can be.
Yeah, you know,
I'm just thinking
not
about
18, I hope.
Well, no, but like if she's like 25 and he's 30, like that's good, right? Like you'd be cool with
Yeah,
that?
she
Yeah.
should probably wait until she's at least 28 to get married.
Well, I'm just thinking like when she's fertile AF, so you
Yes.
get like, you're like cream of the crop of a grandbaby here. I'm just thinking like in terms of like the best of the best.
Right.
A future president or something, right? Like let's just get like
Future president will come out of her ovaries.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, God, I love it.
Okay, so I met my husband at 34, married at 35, first kid at 36, second at 37. It's been an amazing adventure so far, and I'm the happiest I've ever been. Finding him later in life gave us the opportunity to truly know ourselves and what we wanted in a partner, and luckily for us, we didn't have to settle. It also allowed us to be more financially stable, which is a huge help. I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what I noticed is just that they all said financially stable. That's such an important
It's a
piece.
big one. Mhm.
Yeah, because first of all, if you have to go back to work or you choose to go back to work, right? Childcare is expensive. If you want to stay home, life is expensive. And then all of the activities that they have, like soccer, or my son just turned 2 and I already have him signed up for soccer. We have like a mommy and me class once a week. We have swimming. So there's so many activities that add up, and he's only 2.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. You're not kidding. It's so expensive. Yeah. Definitely the financial security thing. And I think learning about it too, because we don't all know that in our 20s and early 30s. We kind of learn it as we're living life.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then when you're like, well, now I have a baby, so I have to buy organic. Well, organic is not cheap.
And berries aren't cheap once they're toddlers.
And diapers aren't cheap. It's
Oh,
like
goodness.
$50, $60 a box. Like, my goodness.
I know. That's why I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, we are potty training because this mama does not want to change diapers for another year. So we've been doing it for 2 months now.
How's it going?
It's going. There's ups and downs. So we'll get there. But I think the hard part for him is realizing like he needs to go and going to the potty. Like he'll let me know that he has gone.
Yeah. Okay. That's step 1. Okay.
Right.
Good. We're acknowledging
getting
that. Yeah. Well, I'll let you continue to go through that journey for me. And then you can report back of all the things that didn't work and then what did work. So I can just hopefully skip over.
Yeah. Because you guys have boys. And I know when we talked about potty training initially, Jess was like, okay, cool. But like, what about boys? So you guys have that connection.
Just boys, I feel like is different. I've heard boys are a little harder than girls.
So I don't have a problem with him like going if we sit him down and he needs to go. What I have a problem is the aim.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're like,
you know what's
I think
really
it was supposed
funny?
to go.
You're like, A for effort, but that was a trash can, sweetheart.
So wait,
Because if he's sitting down, it doesn't aim down, right? So I have to like do like a pee pad that way it like shoots over onto.
Right.
100%.
What I didn't know about, like the little potties, like we have one of the little ones that like sits on the floor, and then we also have like one of the potty seats that sits on top of the actual potty. What I didn't realize was what like the big like hump in the middle was for. I didn't realize that that's so that boys could like go and like they would go underneath that hump. I didn't know that that was a thing. I thought that was just like for everyone, and it's not. It's for boys. So like I don't know.
But it doesn't work.
Right. Because like how are they gonna know? Like how are they gonna know? Like they have to learn this, and it's not like if you leave them alone for 2 seconds, they're not gonna realize how to control it. So it's like it's a whole thing.
I feel like I just might like let my husband. Maybe I'll go on vacation for a few weeks, and I'll let my husband like figure that out for me.
Yeah,
like you have one, you know how it works. Like show him everything you know. You're an expert. You're an expert in the penis category, not me. I don't have one. I've never used one before. I can't tell him how it works. Well, never mind.
Right. I like texted Jessica because like we had this whole episode where we talked about this for a while, and I never realized until researching after about boys that that's what that was for. So I like texted her all excited, and she's like, oh yeah, I don't know about all that. Like cool. She's like, cool, like hopefully that works for someone. Basically.
I think I'm just in denial that my day is coming with this.
Yeah.
And I'm just, God.
I know.
But I do tell myself, you know what? I can deal with 2-3 months of hardship through this process because
Right.
then it means I don't
Exactly.
have to change dirty diapers.
You're
Yeah,
making,
that's true.
You're
The
making
reward is
strides.
huge,
You're
so.
making strides every single day. It's getting better
Yes.
and they're learning. So, yes, kudos to us. We've got this.
Well, I have enjoyed having this conversation, talking about our old dinosaur eggs that I feel came out precious because I love
fossils.
That is now a toddler that keeps me very active, but tired but active. So yes, it's been awesome. I love this. But for all of your followers, so for Geriatric Mamas, if you guys don't follow me yet, my name is Mariela Di Santiago from Mama Wears Athleisure podcast. That's with an MAMA. You can find me on any of your podcast platforms. Did I say that right? Wherever you get your podcast.
That's basically what we say. Yeah, that's what we say. I had to think about it for a sec because I don't really know. But yes, that's it.
And on Instagram at Mama Wears Athleisure. You can also just check me out on my website, mamawearsathleisure.com.
And I always love watching your stories on Instagram. They're so fun. They're so relatable. I mean, I have to hold back from like commenting on every single one. So
watch, it'll be like a week after this goes live. She blocks us. She's just like, okay, it's a bit much, Geriatric Mamas. I get it.
Well, it's right. You just got to show reality because I see a lot where it's like so clean and all this. I'm like, man, I'm just trying to survive over here. I have 3 loads of laundry and breakfast has not been cleaned.
Right.
Yeah.
But I showered this morning. That's success.
That is a huge success. What an accomplishment. Do you not see like my pugs going crazy right now? Like I can't.
I do see them running around. I love it.
Speaking of like living in chaos.
Yeah.
Geriatric Mamas. That's how we live, right?
Seriously.
Exactly. And for all of Mariela's followers, we are the Geriatric Mamas, Sonia Tapley and Jessica Raziri. And we are also on all of the podcast platforms. And on Instagram, we are geriatric_mamas. We're also on YouTube. So we'll have a 15-minute clip of this to share. And we are on Twitter at Geriatric Mamas, and we are on Facebook. We have our Facebook group called Geriatric Mamas, and we are now on LinkedIn. If you have a topic idea you'd like us to discuss, are interested in being a guest, or simply have a funny geriatric story to tell, you can go to geriatricmamas.com and hit be a guest or send us your story.
Awesome. Do you hear that?
Delilah had to put her 2 cents in, or was it Gemma? Yeah.
No, that was Delilah.
Delilah says bye.
Yeah, seriously. On that note, bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening. Tune in next week for our next episode. You can find us on Instagram for more updates and tips. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts and give us a review if you like us.